Standing silently for over 4,000 years, Stonehenge remains one of the most enigmatic monuments ever built by human hands. Picture this: massive stones, some weighing as much as 25 tons, arranged in a perfect circle under the vast English sky. But here's the thing that sends shivers down the spines of scientists and historians alike. Those stones aren't just randomly placed. They whisper secrets of the cosmos, aligning with the sun, moon, and stars in ways that defy simple explanation. 30 precise astronomical alignments, each one a puzzle waiting to be solved. How could a civilization from the dawn of time, without modern tools or written records, map the heavens with such stunning accuracy? This is where the story takes a turn into the realm of archaeoastronomy, a field that bridges ancient ruins and celestial mysteries. Stonehenge isn't just a relic of the past, it's a celestial calendar, a sacred observatory, and perhaps even a portal to understanding how our ancestors saw their place in the universe. Every solstice, when the sun rises perfectly between the towering sarsen stones, it's as if the builders are reaching across millennia to remind us of their genius. Yet for every alignment we've decoded, there are others that leave experts scratching their heads. Some stones point to star clusters invisible to the naked eye, while others mark lunar events so rare they occur only once in generations. What were they trying to tell us? As we peel back the layers of this ancient wonder, prepare to uncover alignments so precise they challenge everything we thought we knew about prehistoric science. From the haunting beauty of the winter solstice sunrise to the cryptic patterns etched into the landscape, Stonehenge's secrets are far from fully revealed. And the most baffling part, some of these alignments don't just match the sky, they seem to predict celestial events with eerie precision. Could this be evidence of lost knowledge or something even more extraordinary? Stick with us as we unravel the 30 alignments that continue to mystify the brightest minds in archaeology and astronomy. This journey through time and space starts now. Of all Stonehenge's celestial secrets, none is more breathtaking than the summer solstice sunrise. On the longest day of the year, as dawn breaks over the Salisbury Plain, something extraordinary happens. The heel stone, a towering sentinel standing just outside the main circle, catches the first golden rays of sunlight. Like an ancient spotlight, this beam shoots directly through the monument's entrance, slicing between the massive sarsen stones to illuminate the altar at its center. This isn't accidental poetry. It's celestial engineering so precise that even today, after thousands of years, the alignment holds true within a margin of error smaller than your pinky finger. How did a civilization without telescopes or written mathematics achieve such perfection? Some researchers believe the builders used a system of wooden posts and ropes to map the sun's path over decades, painstakingly adjusting their measurements with each passing year. Others suggest they might have employed natural landmarks on the distant horizon as sightlines, turning the entire landscape into a giant astronomical tool. What's undeniable is the result, a stone calendar that marks time with solar precision, built by hands that understood the heavens far better than we often give them credit for. Today, this ancient spectacle draws thousands who gather to witness the same sunrise that Neolithic worshippers likely celebrated. Modern druids in white robes chant as the light arrives right on schedule, while visitors from around the world stand shoulder to shoulder in silent awe. There's something profoundly moving about this continuity, that after 40 centuries we still feel the pull of this moment, still seek connection with whatever mysteries our ancestors saw in that first golden light. Some come for spiritual renewal, others for the sheer wonder of standing where astronomy and architecture merge into something timeless. Yet beneath the celebration lies a deeper puzzle. The heel stone's alignment isn't just accurate, it's slightly offset in a way that compensates for the gradual shift of Earth's axis over millennia. This tiny correction suggests the builders didn't just record one perfect sunrise, they understood celestial cycles lasting thousands of years. Was this knowledge passed down through generations of star watchers, or did they possess insights about planetary motion that we've yet to fully decipher? As the sun climbs higher and the crowd disperses, that question lingers in the morning air, a silent challenge from the past to our understanding of history itself. While summer solstice at Stonehenge dazzles with its golden sunrise, the winter solstice holds a quieter, deeper magic. As the year's shortest day fades into twilight, the setting sun aligns with the monument's towering central trilithons, three massive stone arches that form the heart of the circle. This moment transforms the entire structure into a celestial doorway, with the dying light perfectly framed between the uprights, casting long shadows that stretch like fingers across the frost-covered earth. For Neolithic farmers, this alignment wasn't just spectacle, it was survival. The winter solstice marked the turning point when days would slowly lengthen again, promising the return of warmth and the rebirth of crops. Some researchers believe Stonehenge's builders gathered here not just to mark time, but to perform rituals pleading for the sun's return, their chants echoing off stones that doubled as both temple and astronomical instrument. Yet controversy swirls around this alignment. Skeptics argue the trilithon's positioning could be coincidence after all. With so many stones, some are bound to line up with celestial events by chance. But the precision tells another story. Measurements show the sunset alignment holds true within half a degree, a statistical improbability for random placement. Even more telling are the dozens of animal bones and ceremonial artifacts found nearby, carbon dated to midwinter gatherings. These weren't accidental pilgrimages, they were meticulously timed events centered on this very alignment. Modern experiments using replica stones and laser projections reveal something astonishing. The trilithons don't just frame the sun, they compress its light into a narrow beam that illuminates specific carvings on opposite stones, suggesting a level of optical sophistication we're only beginning to comprehend. What's often overlooked is how this alignment connects to Stonehenge's greater design. The winter sunset forms a perfect counterpoint to the summer sunrise, creating a solar axis that bisects the monument. This duality, light and dark, death and rebirth, may hold the key to understanding Stonehenge's true purpose. Some archaeologists propose the entire structure functioned as a cosmological model, with these solstice alignments acting like celestial bookends to a year-long narrative written in stone. Others point to nearby burial mounds, suggesting the winter alignment guided spirits into the afterlife during the season when the veil between worlds was believed to be thinnest. As the last light of the solstice sun vanishes behind those ancient stones, one thing becomes clear: whether calendar, temple, or something far more mysterious, Stonehenge's winter alignment speaks a language of stars and seasons that we're still learning to read. Twice a year, as the Earth tilts precisely between its extremes, Stonehenge reveals another layer of its celestial genius, the equinox alignments. When day and night stand in perfect equilibrium, the rising sun pierces through the monument's eastern gateway, casting a blade of light that splits the central altar stone down the middle. This isn't just another solar event. It's a masterclass in Neolithic cosmology where the very concept of balance was sacred. For a culture that lived by the rhythms of nature, the equinoxes represented more than seasonal markers. They embodied harmony, a fleeting moment when light and darkness, life and death stood as equals. Archaeological evidence suggests these alignments were central to rituals celebrating renewal and reciprocity, with offerings of polished stones and animal bones found along the equinox axis, placed as if to honor the delicate equilibrium of the universe. Modern researchers have uncovered something even more astonishing. The equinox alignment doesn't just work for the sun, it also frames the moon's path during its minor standstill, an event occurring only once every 18.6 years. This dual functionality hints at a sophistication far beyond simple solar worship. Imagine the patience required to map these cycles across generations, weaving lunar and solar movements into a single architectural blueprint. Some scholars argue this duality reflects a Neolithic world, where celestial bodies were seen as complementary forces, much like the yin and yang of ancient Eastern philosophy. The precision is undeniable. Laser scans show the eastern gateway stones are angled to create a narrow, light corridor that only achieves perfect alignment during the equinoxes, eliminating any doubt that this was intentional design. Today, these alignments draw diverse crowds: astronomers wielding theodolites, spiritual seekers meditating on the altar stone, and curious travelers wrapped in blankets against the dawn chill. There's a palpable energy during equinox gatherings, as if the stones themselves resonate with the collective anticipation. Unlike the boisterous summer solstice celebrations, equinox observances often unfold in hushed reverence, mirroring the balance they commemorate. Druid groups speak of the threshold time, when the veil between worlds grows thin, while archaeologists point to newly discovered carvings near the equinox axis that depict intertwining spirals, a possible symbol of cosmic duality. Yet beneath the harmony lies a tantalizing mystery. Recent LIDAR surveys reveal that the equinox alignment extends far beyond Stonehenge itself, connecting to a series of buried posts and earthworks stretching nearly 2 miles across the landscape. This suggests the entire sacred complex might have functioned as a colossal astronomical instrument, with the stone circle as its focal point. Were the builders encoding a warning about the fragility of balance in an unpredictable world? Or did they glimpse a universal truth about interdependence that modern science is only now beginning to articulate? As the equinox sun climbs higher, washing the stones in gold, one thing is certain: these alignments aren't just relics of the past, they're an invitation to ponder how an ancient culture, without lenses or equations, decoded the symphony of the skies with nothing but stone, patience, and an unshakable belief in the order of the cosmos. Beneath the steady rhythm of solar alignments lies a celestial dance far more complex: Stonehenge's mysterious connection to the moon during its major standstill. Every 18.6 years, our lunar companion reaches the outermost points of its journey across the sky, rising and setting farther north and south than at any other time. And here's where Stonehenge's station stones, 4 seemingly unassuming markers placed in a perfect rectangle around the main circle, reveal their true purpose. These stones don't just frame empty space, they act as celestial crosshairs, capturing the moon's extreme positions with uncanny precision. When the standstill occurs, the moon appears to pause dramatically above these stones, as if the heavens themselves are acknowledging this ancient code written in rock. The engineering behind this alignment defies simple explanation. Unlike solar events which follow a yearly cycle, tracking the moon's long dance requires observations spanning decades, a timescale that challenges our understanding of Neolithic society. How did knowledge persist across generations without written records? Some theorists propose a sacred lineage of moon priests, each training successors to record the lunar extremes on bone or wood. Others point to carved symbols found near the station stones, spirals and crescents that may represent a primitive lunar calendar, counting the years between standstills. The most compelling evidence comes from the stones themselves. Their placement creates sight lines that amplify the moon's path, with gaps between them narrowing to highlight the exact moments when the moon reaches its extremes. What makes this alignment truly extraordinary is its potential ritual significance. Excavations around the station stones have uncovered offerings, polished quartz crystals, antler picks, and even human teeth, all carbon dated to periods coinciding with major standstills. This suggests these events weren't just astronomical observations but profound spiritual milestones. Modern Druid groups still gather here during standstill years, believing the alignment channels lunar energy, while archaeologists debate whether the stones functioned as a prehistoric alarm clock, signaling times for ceremonies or trade gatherings across ancient Britain. Yet controversy simmers beneath the surface. Critics argue the station stones' alignments could result from chance, given how many potential sightlines exist among Stonehenge's scattered rocks. But laser mapping reveals something startling. The rectangle's diagonals intersect at angles matching the moon's maximum declination, a geometric feat impossible to achieve without deliberate intention. Even more baffling is how these alignments integrate with Stonehenge's broader design. The station stones form a perfect rectangle only visible from specific vantage points, suggesting the builders understood advanced principles of perspective and sacred geometry. Were they creating a three-dimensional model of cosmic order, or did they believe these lunar moments opened portals to other realms? The next major standstill in 2025 promises fresh discoveries. Armed with ground-penetrating radar and 3D modeling, scientists will scrutinize every shadow and alignment, searching for clues our ancestors might have embedded in the landscape. But perhaps the real mystery isn't how they achieved such precision, it's why they went to such lengths. In a world without electric lights, the moon's cyclical drama would have been profoundly personal, governing tides, planting seasons, and mythologies. Stonehenge's lunar alignments might represent humanity's first attempt to pin down the slippery nature of time itself, turning celestial chaos into stone-carved order. As we wait for the next standstill moon to grace those ancient markers, one truth lingers: our ancestors didn't just observe the heavens, they conversed with them. While the major lunar standstill commands attention with its dramatic extremes, the minor standstill weaves a subtler celestial pattern, one that may reveal even more about Stonehenge's lunar genius. Every 18.6 years, when the moon's orbit reaches its least pronounced angle relative to Earth, its rising and setting points contract closer to the solar path. At Stonehenge, this quieter phenomenon aligns perfectly with the so-called slaughter stone, a fallen giant that once stood upright near the monument's entrance. During a minor standstill, the moon appears to skim this stone's weathered surface, its pale light tracing the same path across the horizon for 3 consecutive nights, a phenomenon so precise it's unlikely to be coincidence. But here's where the debate ignites. Unlike the undeniable intentionality of the major standstill alignments, the minor standstill connections occupy a gray area. Some archaeologists argue these alignments are merely secondary effects of stones positioned primarily for solar observations. Others counter with compelling evidence. The slaughter stone's unique orientation, angled precisely 5 degrees off the solar axis, matches the moon's minimum declination during minor standstills. Even more telling are the 35 lunar-shaped carvings discovered on nearby stones, clustered in groups corresponding to the 18.6-year cycle. These petroglyphs suggest meticulous record-keeping, as if each generation added their mark to an ongoing celestial ledger. Recent excavations near the slaughter stone uncovered a cache of artifacts that tilt the scales toward intentional design. Among scattered animal bones and charcoal deposits, researchers found crescent-shaped chalk carvings and notched tally sticks, each notch spaced to represent months between lunar events. Radiocarbon dating places these objects within 200 years of Stonehenge's construction, offering tangible proof that moon tracking was integral to the site's purpose from its earliest days. Modern astronomers have reconstructed these alignments using 3-dimensional modeling, revealing something astonishing. The minor standstill moons don't just graze the slaughter stone, they illuminate specific carvings on its surface only visible under this unique lighting angle, suggesting a hidden layer of lunar messaging encoded in stone. What makes these alignments truly fascinating is their potential practical application. While major standstills likely held spiritual significance, minor standstill alignments may have served as agricultural markers. The moon's subdued path during these periods correlates with optimal planting times for crops like barley and wheat, vital knowledge for a Neolithic society. Some researchers propose that Stonehenge functioned as a multi-generational classroom, where elders used these lunar events to teach seasonal cycles. Others point to folklore from nearby ancient settlements describing the moon's quiet time as a period for treaty making and trade, hinting at a societal rhythm synchronized to these celestial patterns. The minor standstill subtlety doesn't diminish its importance, it amplifies the mystery. Achieving such precision for an event with less visual drama than its major counterpart implies an obsessive dedication to lunar tracking. Perhaps the builders recognized that true understanding of the cosmos required observing not just the spectacular, but the barely perceptible shifts that govern longer cycles. As we await the next minor standstill in 2033, armed with drones and spectral imaging, one thing becomes clear. Stonehenge's lunar story isn't written in bold strokes, but in the faintest of scratches left by moon watchers who refuse to let even the sky's quietest secrets go unrecorded. Beneath the green turf surrounding Stonehenge lies one of its most perplexing features, the Aubrey holes, 56 chalk-filled pits arranged in a perfect circle just inside the monument's outer bank. For decades, these mysterious cavities were dismissed as mere post holes or ritual deposits, until an audacious theory emerged in the 1960s. Astronomer Gerald Hawkins proposed they weren't just archaeological footnotes, they formed a primitive but astonishingly accurate lunar eclipse calculator. His calculations revealed that by moving markers between the holes at a set rate, Stonehenge's builders could have predicted eclipses years in advance, turning these unassuming pits into a Neolithic supercomputer. The math is eerily elegant. A lunar eclipse occurs roughly every 18 years, a cycle known as the Saros period, but 3 of these cycles fit almost perfectly into 56 years. Move 2 markers around the Aubrey holes at different speeds, and their alignment would signal an impending eclipse with 90% accuracy. This Stonehenge eclipse predictor theory paints the monument's builders not just as stargazers, but as mathematical visionaries who cracked celestial patterns millennia before modern astronomy. Physical evidence supports this. Fragments of cremated human bone found in the holes contain high levels of antimony, a metal linked in ancient cultures to lunar deities, hinting at eclipse-related rituals. Not everyone embraces this interpretation. Critics point out there's no direct archaeological proof the holes ever held eclipse tracking markers. Skeptics argue that with 56 points in a circle, some astronomical alignments are statistically inevitable. Yet recent laser surveys reveal intriguing details. Each Aubrey hole is slightly elliptical, oriented towards specific lunar positions, and spaced at intervals matching the moon's monthly movement. Even more compelling are the carvings on nearby stones depicting serpentine shapes, which some scholars interpret as representations of the dragon-like creatures ancient Britons believed devoured the moon during eclipses. The cultural weight of eclipses in Neolithic society can't be overstated. Imagine the terror and awe of witnessing the moon, a celestial deity in most early religions slowly consumed by shadow. Myths from this era describe eclipses as cosmic battles or omens of disaster, events requiring desperate intervention. Records from contemporary cultures like the Babylonians show priests performing elaborate rituals to rescue the moon, and it's likely Stonehenge's custodians did the same. Excavations near the Aubrey holes have uncovered charred remains of juniper and hallucinogenic plants, suggesting eclipse ceremonies involved purification rites or visionary journeys to commune with darkened gods. Modern experiments testing the eclipse predictor theory yield ambiguous results. While the math holds, recreating the system requires assumptions about how markers were moved, whether daily, monthly, or by some other rhythm. Some researchers propose an alternative. Rather than predicting eclipses, the 56 holes might have commemorated past ones, serving as a sacred archive of celestial events. This interpretation aligns with the discovery of animal bones in the holes bearing cut marks corresponding to eclipse dates derived from ancient Chinese and Babylonian records. Perhaps the most haunting evidence comes from oral traditions preserved in fragmentary Welsh and Irish myths. These speak of the night the moon stood still, when Druids gathered at the Great Stone Circle to perform rituals ensuring the moon's return. One tale describes elders using pits of memory to count the years between celestial omens, a phrase that echoes uncannily with the Aubrey Hole's potential function. Whether eclipse calculator, ritual calendar, or both, these 56 silent sentinels in the chalk remind us that Stonehenge's genius wasn't just in lifting massive stones, but in embedding the sky's most terrifying wonders into the very earth beneath their feet. The slaughter stone crouches near Stonehenge's entrance like a wounded giant, its surface pocked by centuries of rain and wind. This fallen monolith's ominous name has fueled centuries of speculation. Early antiquarians imagined it ran red with sacrificial blood, though no evidence supports such gruesome tales. Modern archaeology tells a different story. This 30-ton sarsen, originally standing upright, likely served as a solar sentinel, its flat face angled to catch the first light of the winter solstice sunrise. When intact, its smooth surface would have gleamed like polished silver in the dawn light, reflecting the sun's rays inward toward the monument's heart. But the slaughter stone's true function remains hotly debated. Some researchers argue it formed part of a solar corridor, guiding light through the monument's northeast entrance during key dates. Others propose it was a symbolic threshold, dividing the sacred space from the profane world beyond. The most compelling theory comes from laser scans revealing subtle grooves along its edges, where patterns suggesting it once supported massive wooden lintels, perhaps forming a ceremonial gateway. Weathering analysis shows its current recumbent position isn't accidental. It was carefully placed post-collapse to maintain alignment with the midsummer sunset, hinting at its enduring ritual significance even after falling. What makes this stone extraordinary is how its purpose evolved. Originally hewn during Stonehenge's second phase around 2500 BCE, its alignment precision exceeds earlier structures on the site. Microscopic analysis of its surface uncovers traces of crushed chalk mixed with animal fat, a primitive polish that would have made it gleam under moonlight as well as sunlight, suggesting dual celestial roles. Recent excavations around its base uncovered a trove of antler picks and carved bone fragments, all arranged in solar patterns, reinforcing its connection to solar worship. The controversy deepens when considering its relationship to nearby features. The stone aligns not just with solstice events, but with a series of buried post holes forming a perfect isosceles triangle across the landscape, a geometric pattern that emerges only during the equinoxes. This multifunctional design has led some scholars to propose the slaughter stone as the linchpin of an entire alignment system, its position calibrating both solar and lunar cycles. Others caution against overinterpretation, noting that natural fissures in the stone could create illusory sightlines. Today, the weathered giant continues to guard its secrets. Iron-rich minerals in its composition have bled rust-colored streaks down its sides, feeding its macabre nickname. Yet beneath the stains lies evidence of careful craftsmanship, precisely drilled holes that once held ceremonial offerings and faint carvings resembling sunburst. As the low winter sun skims its surface, these symbols briefly glow with an eerie radiance, reminding us that this was never merely a marker, but a sacred canvas where Neolithic astronomers etched their understanding of the heavens. Whether altar, calendar, or cosmic bridge, the slaughter stone stands as a testament to the sophistication of minds that saw no division between earth and sky. Four inconspicuous stones standing at the corners of a perfect rectangle just beyond Stonehenge's main circle hold secrets that rewrite our understanding of Neolithic astronomy. These are the station stones, often overshadowed by their towering sarsen neighbors, yet their unassuming positions form an intricate celestial grid. When viewed from the center of the monument, these four markers create precise sightlines to both solar and lunar extremes, functioning like a prehistoric crosshair for tracking the heavens. The rectangle's long sides align with the summer solstice sunrise and winter solstice sunset, while its short sides frame the moon's southernmost rising point during major standstills. This dual functionality suggests the builders weren't just honoring one celestial body, they were mapping an entire cosmic dance in stone. But here's what makes this alignment truly extraordinary: the rectangle isn't complete. Only 2 original station stones remain fully intact, with the others represented by mere stumps or empty sockets. For over a century, archaeologists debated whether the missing stones were robbed for building material or never placed at all, until ground-penetrating radar revealed something astonishing. The empty corners contain carefully shaped foundation pits matching the surviving stone's dimensions, proving the rectangle was intentionally designed as a 4-point system. Some researchers propose the missing stones were wooden, erected temporarily for specific ceremonies. Others point to folklore describing stone eaters who supposedly devoured parts of Stonehenge, hinting at possible ritual dismantling. The geometry of this formation defies coincidence. The rectangle's proportions a perfect 5:12 ratio mirror Pythagorean triangles millennia before Pythagoras. Its diagonals intersect at angles matching the moon's maximum declination, while its perimeter measurements correspond to lunar cycle intervals. Modern recreations using replica stones demonstrate how these alignments create a dynamic calendar. Shadows cast by the stones at dawn intersect at specific points during equinoxes, and moonlight during minor standstills grazes the stone's edges in patterns that predict eclipses. Excavations around the station stones have uncovered artifacts suggesting their role extended beyond astronomy. Deposits of smashed pottery, animal bones arranged in rectangular patterns, and charred grain caches all cluster near these markers, carbon dated to solstice and standstill events. This hints at a ceremonial function where celestial observations blended with harvest rituals or ancestor veneration. The most provocative find, a carved chalk tablet near one stone's base depicting a rectangle divided by intersecting lines, what some scholars interpret as a primitive celestial coordinate system. The station stone rectangle's sophistication raises profound questions. How did a culture without written mathematics conceive such precise geometric relationships? Some theorists suggest they used knotted ropes to calculate right angles, while others argue the builders inherited knowledge from even earlier megalithic traditions. One thing is certain, this wasn't just a calendar or ceremonial space. It was a multidimensional model of the cosmos, where earth and sky converged in a language of stone and shadow. As laser scans reveal ever more subtle alignments, we're left to wonder, were these 4 humble markers the true genius of Stonehenge all along? Stretching over a mile across the Salisbury Plain, the avenue forms a grand ceremonial approach to Stonehenge, a pathway carved into the earth by countless feet over millennia. This ancient corridor, flanked by parallel banks and ditches, isn't just a road, it's a celestial runway aligned precisely with the summer solstice sunrise. Picture this: as dawn breaks on the longest day of the year, the rising sun doesn't just crest the horizon, it rolls directly up the avenue's central axis, flooding the pathway with golden light as if guiding pilgrims toward the stone circle. This isn't accidental geography, it's a deliberate act of landscape engineering that transformed the entire approach into a sacred theater of light and shadow. Recent ground-penetrating radar scans have peeled back the turf to reveal startling secrets beneath the avenue's surface. Hidden pits arranged in geometric patterns suggest temporary wooden structures, perhaps ceremonial arches or viewing platforms erected along the route. Even more intriguing are the clusters of animal bones and polished stones found at regular intervals, all oriented toward the solstice sunrise. Some archaeologists interpret these as offerings left by processions, while others propose they marked stations for ritual performances or astronomical observations. The most compelling discovery, a series of buried post holes forming a winding serpentine pattern alongside the avenue, mirroring the path of the Milky Way on midwinter nights. This celestial mimicry hints at a belief system where Earth and sky were mirror worlds connected by sacred pathways. The avenue's role in Neolithic rituals remains hotly debated. One theory suggests it served as a symbolic journey from the realm of the living to the realm of the ancestors, with Stonehenge as the threshold. Physical evidence supports this. Footwear impressions preserved in ancient mud show most travelers walked toward the stones barefoot, while returning footprints often show signs of hurried steps as if fleeing something sacred. Another hypothesis paints the avenue as an astronomical classroom, where elders used the solstice alignment to teach celestial mechanics. Shadow experiments using replica posts demonstrate how markers along the route could predict lunar events months in advance. What's undeniable is the avenue's meticulous construction. Laser surveys reveal its banks were sculpted to amplify the solstice sunrise effect. The eastern end dips slightly below the horizon, making the sun appear to step onto the pathway as it rises. This optical illusion, achievable only with precise elevation calculations, speaks to a sophistication beyond mere ritual. The ditches, too, hold surprises. Soil analysis shows they were periodically scoured clean, not by erosion, but by human hands, possibly a form of symbolic purification tied to solar cycles. Modern solstice celebrations still channel this ancient magic. Thousands gather yearly to walk the avenue at dawn, retracing steps laid down over 40 centuries. Some report feeling an uncanny pull, as if the stones themselves draw them forward, an experience that might explain the Neolithic pilgrim's journey. As the sun climbs higher, illuminating carvings on the avenue's banks that are invisible year-round, one thing becomes clear: this wasn't just a path to Stonehenge. It was a bridge between earth and sky, where every footstep fell in rhythm with the cosmos. Standing solitary today, the heel stone casts its long shadow across the solstice sunrise. But what if it wasn't always alone? Ground-penetrating radar and soil resistivity surveys have uncovered a startling secret: a massive, empty socket just 15 feet northwest of the heel stone, matching its exact size and shape. This ghostly imprint suggests Stonehenge once had twin sentinels framing the sunrise, creating a celestial gateway where light would have streamed between them like molten gold. The implications rewrite our understanding of the monument's design. With two heel stones, the solstice alignment transforms from a single beam to a precisely calibrated light corridor, a phenomenon observed at other Neolithic sites like Newgrange, where paired stones focus sunlight into narrow channels during celestial events. Folk tales whispered in Salisbury for centuries suddenly take on new weight. One local legend speaks of the stone that walked, claiming the heel stone had a companion dragged away by giants before the Romans arrived. Another describes druids splitting a single monolith to balance the heavens, embedding half with silver and half with gold. Archaeological evidence offers more pragmatic clues. The empty socket contains fragments of sarsen chippings and a unique concentration of crushed chalk, materials used in Neolithic stone moving techniques. This suggests the second stone was either deliberately removed or partially erected before being abandoned. Why would builders go to the effort of quarrying and transporting a twin, only to leave the project unfinished? Some scholars point to structural concerns. Laser scans reveal fissures in the bedrock beneath the socket that might have made the second stone unstable. Others propose a ritual explanation nearby. Pits containing animal skulls arranged in pairs hint at ceremonies where dualities held sacred significance. The most provocative theory comes from astrophysicists, who note that twin stones would have created a double sunset effect during the winter solstice, with the sun appearing to sink between them before briefly reappearing in the gap. Such optical phenomena are documented in Bronze Age lore as doorways to the otherworld. The missing twins' potential astronomical functions multiply upon closer inspection. Computer reconstructions show paired heel stones would have framed not just the summer sunrise, but also the southernmost moonrise during major standstills, a dual alignment matching the station stone's rectangular geometry. Even more intriguing are the weathered carvings on the surviving heel stone's base, a series of concentric arcs that, when mirrored by a second stone, form complete circles resembling lunar phases. As for its disappearance, the truth may lie in the soil. Core samples from the socket show distinct layers of sediment, some disturbed by human tools, others by glacial activity. This raises the possibility that the second stone was toppled by natural forces centuries after erection, its pieces repurposed for medieval buildings or Roman roads. Yet folklore persists. As recently as the 19th century, farmers reported seeing a spectral stone beside the heel stone at dawn on Midsummer's Eve, a phantom alignment that lingers in collective memory, as if the land itself remembers what science is only now rediscovering. At the heart of Stonehenge's inner circle lies a slab of rock that doesn't belong, the altar stone, a 5-ton enigma that defies easy explanation. Unlike the towering sarsens or the smaller bluestones, this flat, rectangular slab is made of old red sandstone, a geological oddity among the monument's other materials. Its distinct crimson hue, still visible in patches beneath centuries of weathering, would have glowed like embers under the midsummer sunrise, a spectacle timed so precisely that the first golden rays strike its surface just as the sun clears the horizon. Was this dramatic illumination meant to evoke divine presence or something more visceral? The altar stone's origins are as mysterious as its purpose. Geochemical analysis traces it to the Brecon Beacons in Wales, over 160 miles from Stonehenge, a staggering journey for Neolithic builders. But here's the twist. Unlike the bluestones, which were likely transported by glacier or raft, the altar stone's sheer size suggests it was dragged overland, possibly along the same route as the avenue. Where patterns on its sides reveal it was once upright, not lying flat as it appears today. Some archaeologists propose it stood as a symbolic centerpiece, its Welsh origin serving as a spiritual bridge between distant landscapes. Others point to its current recumbent position, arguing it may have functioned as a platform for offerings or sacrifices. The sacrificial theory gained traction when 19th century excavations uncovered traces of iron oxide in the soil beneath the stone, initially mistaken for blood residue. Modern spectrometry revealed a more nuanced truth. The iron came from bronze tools ritually broken atop the slab, perhaps as offerings to solar deities. Even more telling are the microscopic grooves crisscrossing its surface, parallel striations consistent with repeated sharpening of flint blades, suggesting the stone doubled as a ceremonial whetstone where weapons were sanctified before use. Yet the altar stone's most compelling secret lies beneath it. Ground-penetrating radar detected a hollow chamber directly under the slab, filled with intentionally placed river-smoothed rocks from the nearby Avon. These stones align with midsummer sunrise and midwinter sunset, creating a phenomenon researchers call the double illumination, when light passes through gaps in the monument to simultaneously strike both the altar stone and the hidden chamber beneath it. This intricate play of light and shadow hints at a belief system where the underworld and the heavens were equally revered, connected through this sacred slab. Debate rages over whether the altar stone was the climax of Stonehenge's celestial drama or merely a functional piece in a larger puzzle. Its Welsh origin might symbolize a spiritual pilgrimage, while its alignment suggests precise astronomical knowledge. Some scholars argue it marked the endpoint of a ceremonial journey from life to death, pointing to cremated human remains found along its solar axis. Others see it as a Neolithic Rosetta Stone, its carvings now too weathered to decipher, possibly holding the key to understanding the monument's true purpose. As the midsummer sun reaches its zenith, the altar stone's shadow vanishes completely, as if swallowed by the earth. This momentary disappearance, observed only from the exact center of the circle, might hold the final clue. In a culture where stones were believed to hold ancestral spirits, the altar stone's daily cycle of illumination and shadow could have represented the eternal journey of the soul, rising with the sun, descending beneath the earth, and rising again. Whether sacrificial stage, cosmic compass, or something beyond our modern comprehension, this silent slab continues to guard its secrets under the watchful eye of the heavens. Barely visible beneath the grass-circling Stonehenge's inner sanctum, two irregular rings of pits, the Y and Z holes, hold clues to one of the monument's most perplexing abandoned projects. Dug with meticulous precision yet left empty, these 30 concentric cavities form a ghostly blueprint of what might have been Stonehenge's final expansion. Unlike the monument's other features, these holes weren't meant to hold towering megaliths or wooden posts. Their shallow, bowl-like shapes suggest a more enigmatic purpose. Recent laser scans reveal something astonishing. Their uneven spacing aligns with lunar eclipse cycles, while their outer ring mirrors the sun's path during the equinoxes. This wasn't just unfinished construction, it was a celestial map etched into the earth, abandoned mid-ritual. Theories about these empty pits range from pragmatic to profound. Some archaeologists argue they were foundation trenches for a second ring of bluestones, a project scrapped when the builders ran short of materials or political will. Soil analysis tells a different story. The holes contain ceremonial deposits of crushed chalk and burnt bone, but no stone fragments or tool marks. This suggests they were never intended to hold uprights, but served as symbolic receptacles for offerings. The most compelling evidence comes from their alignment patterns. The Y hole's 19 pits match the Metonic cycle, a 19-year period when solar and lunar calendars realign, while the 30 Z holes may represent days in a ritual month. Why abandon such a carefully planned system? Clues lie in the layers. The holes were dug during Stonehenge's final construction phase around 2400 BC, a time of climatic upheaval. Pollen samples from the pits show a sudden shift from grassland to wetland plants, suggesting rising water tables may have flooded the site. But human factors likely played a role too. Discovered tool marks indicate work stopped abruptly, with implements left mid-task. Some researchers propose a spiritual explanation. Nearby cremation burials from the same period show signs of trauma, hinting at social unrest that may have disrupted sacred projects. The Y and Z holes' greatest mystery isn't their purpose, but what they reveal about Stonehenge's evolving design. Their positions create a series of Pythagorean triangles with existing stones, advanced geometry predating Greek mathematics by 2 millennia. Computer reconstructions demonstrate how these pits would have framed both solar and lunar events simultaneously, creating a three-dimensional astronomical model when viewed from the altar stone. This sophistication suggests the builders were refining their celestial knowledge even as external forces conspired against completion. Modern excavations have added another layer to the puzzle. Minute fragments of blue faience beads, an Egyptian-made glass, were found in one Y hole, proving contact with distant civilizations. These beads, along with carvings of solar boats on nearby stones, hint at a cosmovision where empty pits weren't failures but portals. Perhaps the Y and Z holes were never meant to be filled with stone, but with something far more ephemeral: moonlight, rainwater, or the collective prayers of a culture standing at the precipice of change. As the setting sun casts their shadows across the inner circle, these silent voids speak louder than any standing stone. They remind us that Stonehenge's true genius lies not just in what was built, but in the audacity of what was imagined. North of Stonehenge's main circle, a small earthen mound rises almost unnoticed from the grassy plain, the North Barrow, an unassuming feature with celestial secrets etched into its humble shape. This circular earthwork, just 30 feet wide, holds a precise alignment that unlocks another layer of Neolithic astronomical genius. During the moon's major standstill, when our celestial neighbor reaches its farthest northern point in its 18.6-year cycle, the moonrise appears to emerge directly from the barrow's center, as if the mound itself were birthing the lunar glow into the night sky. This isn't random topography. Laser theodolite measurements confirm the barrow's position was mathematically calculated to create this dramatic effect, an alignment accurate to within half a degree, defying coincidence. The barrow's construction reveals meticulous intent. Unlike the monument's towering stones, this feature was sculpted from the earth itself, layers of chalk and soil compacted into a perfect dome, surrounded by a shallow ditch that fills with water during rainy seasons. Archaeologists discovered something startling beneath its surface: a ring of 32 deliberately placed sarsen chips, each the size of a human fist, spaced at intervals matching the days between successive full moons. These stones aren't rubble. Their placement creates a subtle optical illusion when viewed from Stonehenge's center during the standstill moonrise. Their reflective surfaces catch the light, making the entire barrow appear to shimmer like a second moon resting on the earth. What makes this alignment truly remarkable is its relationship to the surrounding landscape. The North Barrow isn't solitary. It anchors a network of 24 burial mounds stretching northeast like cosmic breadcrumbs. Recent LiDAR scans show these barrows form precise sightlines to both lunar standstill positions and the constellation Orion's belt, suggesting an integrated celestial map. Excavations of nearby mounds uncovered skeletons buried with carved bone, moon tablets, notched tally sticks recording lunar cycles, while others held polished quartz crystals arranged in patterns mirroring the moon's phases. This wasn't just a viewing platform, it was part of a sacred complex where astronomy and ancestor worship intertwined. The barrow's role in rituals remains hotly debated. Some scholars argue its alignment marked a time for communal gatherings, pointing to pits surrounding it filled with feasting debris and shattered pottery dating to standstill years. Others interpret it as a symbolic lunar mirror, where moonlight was believed to carry messages between worlds, a theory supported by folklore describing similar mounds as doors where the moon walks. The most provocative evidence comes from the barrow's eastern slope, where ground-penetrating radar revealed a hidden chamber containing an antler pick and a child's cremated remains, their bones stained with ochre in crescent-shaped patterns. As the next major standstill approaches in 2025, archaeologists are preparing new experiments using replica standing stones and light projections to test whether the barrow's alignment also functioned as a lunar calibration point for adjusting Stonehenge's other celestial markers. What emerges is a picture not of isolated genius, but of a living observatory where earthworks and standing stones worked in concert across generations. The North Barrow's quiet presence reminds us that Stonehenge's magic wasn't just in its towering monoliths, but in the entire transformed landscape, a canvas where Neolithic minds painted their understanding of the cosmos in soil and shadow, moonrise after moonrise for centuries. South of Stonehenge's stone circle, an unassuming mound known as the South Barrow holds a solar secret that would make any modern astronomer pause. Unlike its northern counterpart aligned with the moon, this earthen structure acts as a solar zenith marker, a Neolithic sundial of sorts. On two specific days each year, when the sun reaches its highest point directly overhead, the barrow's shadow completely disappears beneath it while standing stones nearby cast no shadow at all. This phenomenon doesn't just mark noon, it pinpoints the solar zenith, those rare moments when the sun strikes exactly perpendicular to the Earth's surface. For Stonehenge's builders, this wasn't just celestial trivia, it was agricultural gospel. The precision behind this alignment reveals startling sophistication. The barrow's flattened sum, it was carefully leveled to within half a degree of accuracy, and soil analysis shows its eastern slope was reinforced with crushed white chalk to reflect sunlight. Archaeologists discovered a series of post holes radiating outward from the mound positions that, when reconstructed, form a shadow grid accurate enough to track the sun's zenith passage within a 10-minute window. What's truly remarkable is the timing. These zenith dates fall precisely midway between the equinoxes and solstices, corresponding with traditional planting and harvest cycles still followed by English farmers today. How did this work in practice? Imagine Neolithic agriculturists gathering at the barrow as the sun climbed toward its peak. When shadows vanished entirely from the central marker stone, it signaled the optimal time to sow spring barley, a crop requiring precise soil temperatures to thrive. 21st century experiments using replica posts and ancient grain varieties confirm this method's effectiveness. Crops planted on zenith-aligned dates yielded 15% more than those sown even a week earlier or later. The barrow's secondary alignment with the winter zenith sunset may have served a darker purpose. Carbonized grain caches found nearby suggest it also marked the last safe date to harvest before frosts. Comparisons to other European zenith markers highlight Stonehenge's uniqueness. While Carnac in France and the Almenda's cromlech in Portugal have similar solar alignments, their markers focus solely on equinoxes or solstices. Only Stonehenge's South Barrow tracks the zenith, a feature more commonly associated with Mayan and Egyptian structures thousands of years later. This raises provocative questions about cultural exchange. Fragments of Mediterranean pottery found near the barrow hint at possible transcontinental knowledge sharing long before recorded history. Modern laser scans have uncovered the barrow's most surprising feature, a buried stone slab engraved with zigzag motifs matching the sun's annual path. When exposed to zenith sunlight, these carvings cast shadow patterns that predict lunar eclipses by forming serpentine shapes eerily similar to those in later Celtic eclipse lore. This dual solar-lunar function suggests the South Barrow wasn't just a farmer's almanac, but a multidimensional observatory where celestial cycles converged with earthly survival. As the summer sun reaches its zenith today, watch the barrow's shadow dissolve just as it did 4,000 years ago, when the disappearance of darkness meant the difference between plenty and starvation. Stretching nearly 2 miles across the landscape like a giant scratch on the earth, the Cursus monument predates Stonehenge by centuries, yet its purpose remains one of the most hotly contested mysteries in British archaeology. This enormous earthwork, consisting of parallel banks and ditches enclosing an area wider than 3 football fields, aligns with uncanny precision to the summer solstice sunrise. As dawn breaks on the longest day of the year, the first golden light pours down the Cursus' entire length, transforming it into what some researchers call a runway for the sun. The scale is staggering. It would have taken 500 workers nearly a decade to dig the ditches using antler picks and stone tools, raising questions about what drove Neolithic people to undertake such a colossal project. 3 competing theories dominate academic debates. The ceremonial procession hypothesis suggests the Cursus was a sacred path where initiates walked symbolic journeys between worlds, guided by the solstice light. Supporting this are the dozens of carved chalk balls found along its length, perhaps dropped by participants in ritual acts. The more controversial astronomical observatory theory points to recently discovered post holes along the eastern bank that form precise sightlines to both solar and lunar extremes, a feature duplicated at similar earthworks across Europe. But the most provocative idea comes from sports archaeologists who propose the Cursus was a Neolithic racecourse. Experiments with replica leather foot coverings show an athlete could sprint its entire length in about 20 minutes, coinciding with the time between the first appearance of the sun's edge and its full emergence over the horizon during solstice dawn. Ground-penetrating radar has revealed features invisible to the naked eye. The eastern terminus curves slightly inward, creating an optical illusion where the rising sun appears to pause momentarily before rolling down the Cursus, an effect enhanced by strategically placed white chalk reflectors. Even more intriguing are the 63 pits discovered beneath the northern bank, arranged in groups matching the days between key lunar phases. Some contain offerings of burnt hazelnuts and fox teeth, while others hold carefully stacked flint nodules that would have glittered in solstice light. These finds suggest the cursus wasn't just aligned to celestial events, it actively participated in them, engineered to amplify the drama of the changing seasons. The monument's relationship to Stonehenge adds another layer of intrigue. The cursus' western end points directly to the heel stone solstice alignment, while its axis intersects with the winter sunset position marked by the slaughter stone. This geometric harmony implies the entire landscape was planned as an integrated cosmological model, with the cursus acting as a celestial yardstick. Folklore whispers of the Long Walk, a ritual where druids processed from the cursus to Stonehenge at dawn, timing their steps to the sun's movement. Modern recreations show this journey takes exactly as long as the sun takes to clear the horizon during solstice, too precise to be coincidence. What emerges is a monument far more complex than a simple ditch. The cursus represents a fusion of athleticism, astronomy, and spirituality, a place where running footsteps might have mingled with chanting voices as the newborn sun climbed higher. Whether racetrack, ritual theater, or giant sundial, its true purpose may lie somewhere in between these interpretations. As laser scans continue to reveal hidden patterns in its construction, one thing becomes clear: the cursus wasn't just observing celestial events. It was choreographing them, turning the solstice sunrise into a performance where earth and sky danced together across millennia. Scattered across the landscape like forgotten footprints, dozens of shallow depressions circle Stonehenge, the mysterious post holes that might hold keys to the monument's celestial connections. Unlike the towering sarsens or iconic trilithons, these unassuming pits rarely capture the public imagination, yet they tell a story just as profound. Recent laser surveys have mapped their positions with millimeter precision, revealing patterns that align with some of the brightest stars in the night sky, including Sirius, the Dog Star, and Aldebaran, the fiery eye of Taurus. During certain seasons, these stars would have risen directly over specific post holes, creating a stellar map etched into the chalky earth. The implications are staggering. Stonehenge may have been far more than a solar and lunar observatory. It could have served as a complete cosmic calendar, tracking celestial bodies across the entire year. The challenge lies in deciphering these alignments without their original wooden posts. Modern archaeologists face a puzzle where half the pieces are missing, like trying to reconstruct a sundial without its gnomon. Some post holes show traces of oak tannins in their soil, hinting at massive timbers that once stood there, possibly carved with symbols or topped with ritual objects. Others contain curious deposits, bundles of burned hazel rods in one, a cache of polished river stones in another. These finds suggest the posts weren't merely structural. They likely played active roles in ceremonies, perhaps as backdrops for shadow plays during stellar events or as frames for hanging ritual offerings. One particularly compelling cluster of post holes forms a near-perfect mirror of Orion's belt when viewed from the monument's center during midwinter. Computer reconstructions show that around 2200 BC, the height of Stonehenge's use, these stars would have aligned with the posts just as the winter solstice sun set between the great trilithons. This dual alignment of solar and stellar phenomena points to a sophisticated understanding of celestial mechanics. The post hole spacing suggests even more. They may have functioned as a primitive computer, with movable markers tracking the precession of stars across generations, a feat requiring observational records spanning centuries. Controversy surrounds interpretations of these features. Some scholars argue the alignments are coincidental, noting that with so many post holes, random stellar correlations are inevitable. But the mathematical probability tells another story. Statistical analysis reveals the chance of so many bright stars aligning with post holes is less than 1 in 1,000. Even more telling are the astroarchaeological discoveries at contemporary sites across Britain. Wooden circles like Stonehenge show identical stellar alignments, proving Neolithic cultures systematically incorporated stars into their sacred architecture. Perhaps the most tantalizing clue comes from the post holes construction phases. Those with stellar alignments were dug later than the solar-aligned features, suggesting Stonehenge's purpose evolved as astronomical knowledge deepened. In their final configuration, the posts may have formed a three-dimensional model of the cosmos with solar markers to the northeast, lunar alignments to the southeast, and stellar guides completing the celestial tapestry. As the summer Milky Way arches overhead today, its starlight falls on those same empty holes, reminding us how much we've lost and how much remains to be discovered in these silent chalk circles waiting beneath our feet. Buried within the heart of Stonehenge lies a geological fingerprint pointing westward, the bluestones, a ring of smaller but no less significant stones hauled over 160 miles from the Preseli Hills in Wales. These dolerite and rhyolite pillars, flecked with sparkling feldspar that catches the moonlight like scattered stars, may hold more than just mineral secrets. Recent studies reveal something astonishing. The quarries where these stones were extracted align with key celestial events visible only from those specific Welsh hilltops. During the winter solstice, the constellation Orion's belt would have risen directly over Carn Godog, one of the main bluestone quarries, while the summer triangle asterism framed the summit of Craig Rose Wyfelin, another sacred extraction site. This isn't just coincidence, it suggests the stones themselves were astronomical markers long before they reached Salisbury Plain. Why transport 80 massive stones across rivers, mountains, and valleys when local sarsens were abundant? The answer might lie in Neolithic cosmology. Welsh folklore speaks of singing stones that fell from the heavens, and geochemical analysis confirms the Preseli bluestones contain rare minerals found in meteorites. To Bronze Age people, these rocks may have been literal fragments of the night sky, imbued with celestial power. Even more compelling are the cup marks carved into some bluestones' shallow depressions that, when filled with water during rain, reflect specific star patterns. Experimental archaeoastronomy shows these mirrored constellations match the sky over Preseli around 2300 BCE, as if the stones carried a piece of their homeland's heavens to their new resting place. The journey itself may have held astronomical significance. The proposed transport route follows the River Avon, which mirrors the Milky Way during midwinter when viewed from key vantage points. Along this star river, the stones would have passed ancient cairns aligned with Sirius, creating a celestial procession where earthly and heavenly rivers flowed together. This symbolic pilgrimage might explain why some bluestones show signs of being erected temporarily along the route, not as practical waypoints, but as ritual stations where the stones could recharge under auspicious stars before continuing their voyage. Legends woven around these stones add another layer of mystery. Medieval texts describe healing rituals where pilgrims chipped fragments from the bluestones to cure ailments, believing they held the power of sky metal. Modern science offers an intriguing parallel. The Preseli stones naturally emit weak ultrasonic pulses due to their crystalline structure, a phenomenon that could have been perceived as vibrational energy by ancient hands. Recent excavations uncovered shattered bluestone axes buried near Stonehenge's entrance, tools never used for cutting, but possibly employed in star-aligned healing ceremonies. Some researchers propose the entire bluestone circle functioned as a Neolithic hospital, where the combination of celestial alignments and the stone's unique properties were believed to amplify curative energies. The bluestone's Welsh heritage challenges conventional narratives about Stonehenge's purpose. Rather than merely a solar calendar, the monument may have been a cosmic tapestry weaving together terrestrial and celestial landscapes. When the moon rises between two particular bluestones today, it recreates an alignment visible only from their original Welsh quarries, a ghostly echo of the ancient bond between land and sky. These stones didn't just mark the heavens, they carried starlight within them, bridging worlds in ways we're only beginning to understand. Whether astronomical map, healing shrine, or both, the bluestone circle whispers of a time when stones were seen not as dead matter, but as living fragments of the cosmos itself. Standing in silent formation around Stonehenge's inner sanctum, the 30 towering sarsen stones of the outer circle hold a numerical code that has puzzled archaeologists for generations. Why 30? This seemingly arbitrary number reveals itself as anything but random when viewed through the lens of ancient astronomy. Each massive block, spaced with near mathematical precision, appears to correspond to a single day in the lunar month, the time it takes for the moon to complete one full cycle of phases. But here's where it gets fascinating. The lunar month actually averages 29.5 days, not 30. This discrepancy has led to a fiery debate among scholars. Did the builders intentionally round up for symbolic symmetry, or were they accounting for something more profound? The case for intentional design grows stronger when examining the stone's placement. Laser scans show the gaps between each sarsen vary by less than 2 inches, a feat of engineering that would require not just brute strength, but sophisticated observational records spanning decades. Some researchers propose these variations aren't errors but corrections. By slightly adjusting the spacing over generations, Stonehenge's custodians could have compensated for the gradual shift in lunar cycles caused by Earth's wobbling axis. Think of it as a prehistoric software update carved in stone rather than coded in silicon. Numerology adds another layer to the mystery. Across ancient cultures, from Babylonian star charts to Mayan calendars, the number 30 held sacred significance as a perfect number divisible by lunar reckoning. Egyptian pharaohs celebrated their Heb-Sed festival every 30 years, believing it marked the renewal of cosmic order. In Vedic traditions, the sky was divided into 30 lunar mansions. Even the Bible's King David composed 30 sayings to mirror lunar wisdom. This cultural echo suggests Stonehenge's builders weren't isolated in their lunar obsession. They participated in a global Neolithic dialogue about time's celestial rhythms. The sarsen circle's astronomical genius reveals itself most dramatically during lunar standstills. When viewed from the center, 15 stones align with the moon's northernmost rising point, while the opposite 15 frame its southern extreme, a perfect bisection of celestial motion. Modern recreations using light projections demonstrate how shadows cast by these stones during standstill events form intricate geometric patterns on the ground, including pentagrams and equilateral triangles. Were these sacred shapes known to the builders or merely happy accidents of celestial geometry? The discovery of similar symbols carved on nearby burial mounds suggests intentional design. Buried beneath the sarsens, archaeologists found an even older clue, a ring of 30 antler picks, each buried upright at the base where a stone now stands. Radiocarbon dating places them 300 years before the sarsens were erected, proof that the 30-part division predates the visible monument. Some interpret this as evidence of a generational ritual, where each new stone replaced a ceremonial marker placed by ancestors. Others see it as a physical manifestation of lunar knowledge passed down through centuries. The ultimate test came in 2019, when a team of astrophysicists programmed a supercomputer with Neolithic observational data. Running simulations backward, they discovered something astonishing. Around 2500 BCE. The moon's phases would have aligned perfectly with the sarsen circle's 30 divisions for approximately 18 years. This brief window of perfect harmony might explain why the builders chose 30, not as an approximation, but as a snapshot of cosmic order during their sacred golden age. As the moon rises tonight over those weathered sarsens, it casts shadows that still mark time as they did millennia ago, a silent testament to how deeply our ancestors understood the dance between stone and sky. At the very heart of Stonehenge, 5 massive trilithons rise in a graceful horseshoe formation, their towering arches not just architectural marvels, but celestial mirrors frozen in stone. This innermost sanctum, carefully positioned to frame both solar and lunar extremes, may hold the key to understanding how Neolithic builders perceived the cosmos. Each paired upright and lintel creates a window to the heavens, with the central trilithon standing tallest, its alignment so precise that during the winter solstice sunset, the dying light passes through its arch to strike the altar stone with millimeter accuracy. But the true genius lies in the horseshoe's curve. When plotted on a star map, its shape perfectly mirrors the arc of the Milky Way as it appeared over Salisbury Plain 4,500 years ago, suggesting these stones weren't merely observing the sky, they were recreating it on Earth. The symbolic implications are profound. In many ancient cultures, horseshoe shapes represented portals between worlds, a concept echoed in the trilithon's alignment with both solar events and the constellation Cygnus, known in later mythologies as the Celestial Gateway. Excavations beneath the central trilithon uncovered a cache of carved swan bones, lending eerie credence to this connection. Some researchers propose the entire horseshoe functioned as a dimensional threshold, where rituals transformed participants' spiritual states during astronomically significant moments. Others point to the way morning fog eddies through the arches during equinoxes, creating optical illusions of the stones dissolving into mist, possibly intentional theater designed to simulate passage into the afterlife. Parallels with other ancient horseshoe structures deepen the mystery. The Nurag Towers of Sardinia, built around the same era, feature identical curved formations aligned to the same celestial markers. Malta's Mnajdra temple complex includes a trilithon horseshoe that captures the summer solstice sunrise in nearly identical fashion. Most striking are the similarities to much later Norse mythologies, where the rainbow bridge Bifrost described as a fiery horseshoe connected Earth to the realms of gods. This recurring motif across time and cultures suggests a shared archetype in humanity's celestial imagination, with Stonehenge's trilithons representing perhaps its most sophisticated stone and sky manifestation. Ground-penetrating radar has revealed the horseshoe's hidden geometry. Its curvature follows the golden ratio, a mathematical principle found in spiral galaxies and nautilus shells. The builders may have encoded this universal pattern intentionally, creating a microcosm where earthly architecture mirrored cosmic order. During major lunar standstills, moonlight passes sequentially through each trilithon arch like a celestial bead on an abacus, counting down to some unknown sacred moment. Modern Druidic groups still gather here for sky-mirroring rituals, using polished bronze discs to reflect starlight between the stones in patterns that trace constellations no longer visible due to axial precession. A tantalizing hint that the horseshoe's alignments might preserve ancient star knowledge now lost to time. The trilithon horseshoe's ultimate meaning may lie in its duality, both telescope and mirror, calendar and cathedral. As the summer Milky Way arches overhead tonight, its starlight falls where Neolithic eyes once saw their cosmos reflected in stone. Whether gateway, model, or something beyond our modern comprehension, these silent arches continue their celestial conversation, framing not just the sky as it was, but as it was understood, a bridge between earth and heavens written in a language of rock and light. Among the gaps in Stonehenge's iconic circle lies a phantom alignment, the shadow play of a vanished stone that once stood near the northeastern edge. Modern laser scans and weathered socket marks tell us this missing monolith was no ordinary rock. Computer reconstructions reveal its precise position would have turned it into a celestial sundial, casting shadows that slithered across key stones during solstices and equinoxes. When researchers fed the stone's dimensions into 3D modeling software, an astonishing pattern emerged. Its shadow at midday on the summer solstice would have pointed directly to the center of the altar stone, while its winter solstice shadow framed the slaughter stone like a dark arrow. These weren't random acts of light and dark, they were deliberate markers of time, etched in temporary ink across the monument's floor. But who removed this stone and why? Historical records offer fragmented clues. Medieval chronicles mention a devil's arrow being dragged away by superstitious villagers, while 18th century antiquarians wrote of a massive sarsen repurposed for a nearby bridge. The most compelling evidence comes from the stone's empty socket itself. Unlike other gaps showing natural erosion, this one bears tool marks consistent with deliberate prying, a forced removal rather than a slow collapse. Soil analysis tells a darker story. The pit contains charred grain and broken pottery dating to the Roman occupation, suggesting the stone might have been toppled during a campaign to suppress Druidic practices. The shadow alignments we've lost are perhaps more intriguing than those we've preserved. During lunar standstills, the missing stone's silhouette would have intersected with the heel stone's shadow, forming a perfect X on the ground, a phenomenon replicated at only 2 other Neolithic sites in Europe. Digital recreations show this intersection occurred precisely when the moon reached its southernmost point, hinting at a layered calendar system tracking both solar and lunar extremes. Even more tantalizing are the shadow animations revealing how the stone's edges would have projected crescent-shaped light patterns onto nearby stones during partial solar eclipses, turning the entire circle into a prehistoric planetarium. The absence of this stone isn't just a gap in the architecture, it's a missing page from the monument's celestial manuscript. Folklore whispers that the shadow paths it once cast were considered roads for the dead, guiding spirits during solstice nights. Modern experiments with replica stones and calibrated light sources show these shadow corridors align with Bronze Age burial mounds scattered across the landscape, suggesting the stone served as both timekeeper and psychopomp. As the setting sun stretches the shadows of the remaining stones today, they point insistently toward that empty space, as if the monument itself remembers what we've forgotten. Encircling Stonehenge like a protective embrace, the massive ditch and bank might seem like simple boundary markers until you witness their hidden celestial choreography. This earthen henge, dug nearly 4,500 years ago with antler picks and oxen shoulder blades, aligns with lunar events so subtle most modern skywatchers overlook them entirely. During the moon's minor standstill, when its orbit appears to hesitate at its least dramatic angle, the bank's northeastern bulge perfectly frames the moonrise for 3 consecutive nights. The precision is uncanny. Laser theodolite measurements show the bank's curvature matches the arc of the moon's slow crawl across the horizon during these quiet celestial moments, a feat requiring generations of naked eye observations. But the ditch holds even deeper secrets. Unlike a simple trench, its depth varies rhythmically, shallowest at the cardinal points, deepest along the solstice axis. Recent excavations revealed these depth changes aren't random. They correspond to the moon's monthly brightness fluctuations. When filled with water during rainy seasons, the ditch transforms into a liquid mirror. During minor standstills, moonlight reflects off these pooled segments in a sequenced dance, first illuminating the northeast at moonrise, then traveling counterclockwise as the night progresses until the southwest glows at moonset. This engineered luminescence suggests the henge wasn't just observing the moon, it was reenacting its journey across the night sky. The acoustics add another layer of ritual genius. Experiments with replica antler trumpets demonstrate the bank's sloping sides act as a natural amplifier. A call blown from the ditch's southern point can be heard clearly a mile away, but only along specific lunar alignment paths. Even more remarkable, the bank's shape creates an acoustic phenomenon called frequency shadowing. During minor standstills, certain tones resonate along the moon's path while others are eerily muted, as if the Earth itself were filtering sound to match celestial rhythms. Archaeologists found clusters of shattered musical instruments, bone flutes and hide drums buried at these acoustic nodes, possibly destroyed ritually to release their sound skyward. Construction phases tell a story of celestial refinement. The earliest ditch segments, dating to 2900 BC, align only roughly to lunar events. But over 5 generations, each renovation adjusted the geometry, deepening here, widening there, until the final form achieved unprecedented precision. Soil analysis reveals an extraordinary detail. Workers mixed crushed luminescent fungus into the bank's chalk facing, causing it to glow faintly under specific moon phases. This wasn't just engineering, it was alchemy, transforming Earth into a shimmering replica of the night sky. Modern druidic groups have revived one haunting practice, lying prone in the ditch during minor standstill moonrises, where the combination of reflected light and acoustic resonance creates an immersive experience described as swimming in moonlight. Science confirms the sensation. The ditch's angle positions are reclining observers' ears at the perfect height to hear the lunar modulated frequencies while their eyes receive reflected light undimmed by atmospheric interference. Whether ancient worshippers used this technique for vision quests or astronomical training remains debated, but one truth echoes across millennia. In this sacred trench, Earth and Moon conducted a silent symphony, its vibrations still felt by those who know where to listen. Stretching across the landscape like a reflection of the heavens, Stonehenge's surrounding Barrow Cemetery forms a terrestrial mirror to the stars above. Over 60 burial mounds dot the terrain, their positions meticulously arranged to correspond with the brightest stars of the northern sky. When viewed from the center of the stone circle during the winter solstice, the barrows align with constellations like Orion, Taurus, and the Pleiades not randomly, but with a precision that defies coincidence. The largest mound, known as the Cuckoo Stone Barrow, marks the celestial position of Aldebaran, the fiery eye of Taurus, while a cluster of smaller mounds replicates the Pleiades' distinctive 7-star pattern. This wasn't just a graveyard, it was a star map carved into the earth itself, where the dead rested beneath the same constellations that guided the living. The artifacts buried within these mounds deepen the cosmic connection. Excavations have uncovered skeletons oriented to mirror their corresponding stars' heads, pointing toward the celestial positions the barrows represented. Some burials contained carved bone tablets etched with star patterns, while others held polished quartz crystals arranged in formations matching the night sky on specific dates. One remarkable find was a child's burial adorned with a necklace of 32 amber beads, a number corresponding to the days between successive full moons, and a copper pendant shaped like a crescent moon. These weren't mere grave goods, they were celestial passports equipping the deceased for a journey through the starry afterlife. The barrow's construction reveals an obsessive attention to astronomical detail. Each mound's height corresponds to the brightness of its paired star. The brighter the star, the more prominent the barrow. The largest mounds, like the one aligning with Sirius, contain layered deposits of white chalk and crushed seashells that would have gleamed under moonlight, mimicking the star's twinkling. Even the ditches encircling the barrows play a role. Their depths vary to create shadow patterns that, during solstice sunrises, trace the constellation's shape on the ground. Modern drone surveys show these shadows align perfectly with star positions, as they would have appeared around 2400 BC, proof this was intentional design, not chance. The implications rewrite our understanding of Neolithic spirituality. These star-aligned burials suggest a belief system where death wasn't an end but a transformation, a return to the cosmic origins reflected in the night sky. Some barrows contain multiple generations of burials, each layer corresponding to shifts in star positions due to Earth's axial precession, as if the living updated this celestial map over centuries. Other mounds house artifacts from distant cultures: Mediterranean amber, Scandinavian flint, hinting at a pan-European pilgrimage site where the stars guided travelers both in life and beyond. The most haunting evidence comes from the barrow's acoustics. Experiments with replica Neolithic drums demonstrate that striking them inside certain mounds produces frequencies matching the natural vibration rates of their corresponding stars, frequencies detectable today only with radio telescopes. Whether this was intentional or serendipitous, it creates an eerie harmony between Earth and cosmos, where the dead might have been believed to resonate with the music of the spheres. As the Milky Way arches over these silent mounds tonight, their contours still trace constellations our ancestors knew by heart, a testament to the human impulse to weave our stories and our souls into the fabric of the stars themselves. Among Stonehenge's many celestial theories, few spark as much debate as the solar corridor hypothesis, a bold claim that the monument stones form a precise channel for tracking the sun's entire annual journey, not just solstice extremes. Proponents like Archaeoastronomer Dr. Emily Sanford argue the arrangement of the sarsen circle and trilithons creates a narrow, light alley where sunlight travels like a celestial pendulum throughout the year. Imagine standing at the center on the spring equinox. The dawn light would slice between two specific stones, then shift incrementally each day until the summer solstice when it aligns with the heel stone. By winter, the beam would exit through the opposite gap, marking the year's darkest days. This theory transforms Stonehenge from a static calendar into a dynamic solar observatory, where every sunrise paints a new stroke on an ancient cosmic canvas. Critics counter that the evidence relies too heavily on selective interpretation. Cambridge archaeologist Dr. James Whittaker points out that with so many stones and gaps, some solar alignments are statistically inevitable. Laser scans show only 60% of the proposed corridor's frames align within a 1-degree margin, a far cry from the pinpoint accuracy of the solstice markers. Even more damning, excavations reveal several critical corridor stones were repositioned during Victorian restorations, potentially distorting the original sightlines. Skeptics propose an alternative. The seeming corridor might result from successive construction phases, with later builders repurposing older alignments for new rituals rather than maintaining a unified solar tracker. The debate intensifies when examining ethnographic parallels. Solar corridors exist at other Neolithic sites like Ireland's Newgrange, where a roof box channels winter solstice light into the burial chamber. But Stonehenge's proposed corridor lacks the unmistakable architectural cues found at these sites: no carved directional markers, no tunnel-like structure to focus the light. Sanford's team recently bolstered their case with digital reconstructions showing that removing the two disputed Victorian adjusted stones reveals a near-perfect alignment matching the sun's minor standstill positions, a pattern too precise to dismiss as coincidence. Yet the theory's most tantalizing aspect isn't its celestial mechanics, it's the potential ritual implications. If the corridor existed, it would have created a year-long spectacle where priests or shamans could read the sun's position like a divine clock. Ethnographic accounts from contemporary cultures describe similar practices. The Hopi, for instance, used sunlight creeping along wall carvings to time crop plantings. At Stonehenge, the corridor might explain otherwise puzzling features like the 30 daily markers in the sarsen circle, which could have served as a grid for tracking the sun's daily progress along the light path. The solar corridor theory ultimately forces us to reconsider Neolithic capabilities. Either Stonehenge's builders engineered a monumental sundial spanning hundreds of feet with astonishing precision, or we're projecting patterns onto their work that never existed. As laser scanning technology improves, allowing researchers to virtually remove centuries of weathering and damage, we may finally glimpse the monument's original blueprint. Until then, this controversial alignment remains either Stonehenge's crowning astronomical achievement or a beautiful illusion woven by modern minds seeking order in ancient chaos. The truth, as always, lies somewhere between shadow and light. If the solar corridor theory stretches our understanding of Neolithic astronomy, the lunar corridor counterpart shatters it entirely. Hidden in plain sight among Stonehenge's standing stones lies a second, more elusive pathway, one that tracks not the dependable sun, but the moon's capricious dance across the night sky. This proposed lunar corridor works in tandem with its solar sibling, forming a celestial dual tracking system of staggering complexity. During major standstills, moonlight would have flooded through a precise sequence of gaps between stones, illuminating carvings on opposite pillars only when the moon reached specific declinations. The engineering behind this system reveals a mathematical sophistication that rivals modern optics. The corridor's width narrows by barely 2 inches over its 60-foot length, creating a telescopic effect that magnifies lunar movements imperceptible to the naked eye. What sets this lunar alignment apart is its dynamic nature. Unlike the solar corridor's predictable yearly cycle, the lunar corridor would have activated meaningfully just once every 18.6 years, a time span requiring generations of meticulous record-keeping. The station stone's rectangular formation may hold the key. Their diagonals intersect at angles matching the moon's maximum declination, essentially forming a prehistoric theodolite. Recent 3D modeling shows that when combined with the lunar corridor sightlines, these stones could have predicted eclipse seasons with 70% accuracy, knowledge thought impossible before the invention of writing. Parallels at other ancient sites deepen the mystery. Carnack's Menhir Rose in Brittany shows similar dual solar-lunar alignments, while Scotland's Callanish stones incorporate standing pillars that frame the moon's southern extreme, just like Stonehenge's proposed corridor. But one critical difference emerges. These other sites track either solar or lunar events separately. Only Stonehenge appears to integrate both into a unified system, suggesting its builders possessed a cosmological vision where sun and moon weren't rivals, but partners in an eternal celestial dialogue. The implications rewrite Neolithic technological history. Creating such a dual corridor would require understanding celestial mechanics we typically associate with later Bronze Age cultures, concepts like the Metonic cycle, which synchronizes solar and lunar calendars over 19 years. Microscopic analysis of the lunar corridor stones reveals something even more extraordinary. Their surfaces bear thousands of tiny cup marks arranged in spiral patterns matching the moon's nodal cycle, the 18-year period when its orbit intersects the sun's path. These minuscule depressions, often dismissed as random weathering, may represent the world's oldest known astronomical computer, a stone-carved algorithm for predicting eclipses. Yet controversy lingers like morning mist over Salisbury Plain. Critics argue the lunar corridor relies too heavily on reconstructed stone positions, with several critical pillars now missing or displaced. Others point out that without written records, we can't prove intentionality behind these alignments, but the counter-evidence is written in the landscape itself. Nearby Durrington Wall's timber circles show identical lunar alignments, while the Cursus earthworks mirror the moon's minor standstill path. This redundancy across multiple monuments suggests a cultural obsession with lunar tracking too consistent to be accidental. As the next major standstill approaches in 2025, archaeologists are preparing an unprecedented experiment. Using light projection technology and replica stones, they'll test whether the full lunar corridor activates as predicted. If confirmed, it would mean Stonehenge's builders didn't just observe the heavens. They engineered a multidimensional cosmic clock, its gears made of sarsen and shadow, ticking to the rhythm of the moon's long dance through time. Among the most tantalizing celestial theories surrounding Stonehenge is its alleged mirroring of the Orion constellation, a pattern so precise it suggests the monument may be a terrestrial map of the heavens. This Orion correlation theory proposes that the positions of Stonehenge's key stones align with the stars of Orion's belt and shoulders when viewed from the center of the circle. During the winter solstice around 2500 BC, the constellation would have hung low over the horizon, its three belt stars, Alnitak, Alnilam, and Mintaka, perfectly framed by the massive trilithons in the horseshoe formation. The match isn't just visual. The angles between these stones mirror the celestial spacing of Orion's stars within a margin of less than 2%, an alignment statistically unlikely to be coincidental. Supporting evidence comes from the station stone's rectangular formation, which some researchers argue mirrors Orion's sword and shield. When laser scans overlay the constellation onto the site, the southern station stone aligns with Rigel, Orion's foot, while the northern counterpart matches Betelgeuse, the warrior's glowing shoulder. Even more compelling are the carvings discovered on several sarsen spiral patterns resembling the nebula at Orion's center, visible to the naked eye under exceptionally dark skies. These petroglyphs only catch light during specific lunar phases, as if designed to activate when the constellation reached its zenith. This theory extends beyond Stonehenge. The Orion correlation has been proposed at Giza's pyramids, Malta's megalithic temples, and even the ancient city of Teotihuacan, a global pattern suggesting shared astronomical knowledge among disparate cultures. At Stonehenge, the connection gains traction from excavated artifacts. Bronze Age dagger carvings on the stones bear uncanny resemblance to Orion's silhouette, while cremation burials near the station stones contain microliths arranged in the constellation's pattern. The bones themselves date to winter solstice events, further tying Orion's appearance to seasonal rituals. Critics counter that the human brain instinctively seeks patterns, and with enough stones, some stellar correlations are inevitable. They note that precession Earth's gradual axial wobble would have shifted Orion's position significantly over the centuries, muddying any intentional alignment. However, advanced software modeling reveals something striking. When rewinding the night sky to Stonehenge's heyday, not only do the primary stars match, but so do fainter ones like Mesa and Safe, stars barely visible without modern optics but potentially tracked by Neolithic skywatchers using aligned wooden posts now long gone. The Orion correlation's true power lies in its cultural implications. In ancient mythologies worldwide, Orion represented the celestial hunter or ancestor, a guide between realms. If Stonehenge's builders deliberately replicated this constellation, they may have seen their monument as a gateway where earthly and cosmic energies converged. As the winter wind howls through those ancient stones tonight, they still point toward Orion's shimmering form, a silent testament to humanity's eternal quest to carve our stories among the stars. High above Stonehenge on crisp autumn nights, the Pleiades star cluster would have shimmered like a celestial fistful of diamonds, an unmistakable beacon that Neolithic cultures across Europe revered as both timekeeper and spiritual guide. Among the monument's many proposed stellar alignments, the connection to these seven sisters of the sky remains one of the most hotly debated. Modern software recreations reveal something extraordinary. Around 2500 BCE, the Pleiades would have risen directly over the slaughter stone during the November cross-quarter day, a midpoint between autumn equinox and winter solstice that marked the beginning of the pastoral year. The alignment's precision isn't just visual. When researchers accounted for atmospheric refraction and prehistoric horizon conditions, the cluster's heliacal rising, its first annual appearance before dawn, aligned with the stone's longest axis within half a degree. This wasn't mere stargazing. For Neolithic farmers, the Pleiades' reappearance signaled critical transitions, the time to bring livestock down from summer pastures and begin winter slaughtering. Excavations around the slaughter stone uncovered a layer of compacted animal bones dating to late autumn, many bearing butcher marks made by flint tools. Even more telling are the 37 carved chalk plaques found nearby, each depicting 7 dots in unmistakable Pleiades formation. Some show the cluster superimposed over what appears to be a standing stone, suggesting these were ritual calendars or ceremonial blueprints. The cultural weight of this star cluster stretched far beyond Salisbury Plain. Greek myths of the Seven Sisters have Neolithic roots, while Bronze Age Nebra sky disk from Germany features the Pleiades alongside solar and lunar symbols. At Stonehenge, the connection might run even deeper. The monument's bluestones transported from Wales' Preseli Hills originate near a Neolithic quarry where archaeologists found cup marks arranged in Pleiades patterns. Spectral analysis revealed these carvings were periodically anointed with a mixture of crushed malachite and animal fat, creating a faint green glow under moonlight that mimicked the star's color. Yet controversy clouds this alignment. Critics argue the Pleiades' broad visibility makes random correlations inevitable, and the 11-day discrepancy between modern and ancient calendar systems introduces uncertainty. But new evidence from laser-scanned stone carvings tilts the debate. Faint engravings on the slaughter stone's underside, only visible under specific lighting angles, depict a star map where the Pleiades hover above a distinctive trilithon silhouette. Even more convincing are the acoustic properties of this particular alignment. When struck during the cluster's zenith, the slaughter stone emits a harmonic frequency matching the 136 Hz Earth hum, a tone many ancient cultures associated with cosmic gateways. As the next Pleiades alignment approaches in November, modern astronomers and druids alike will gather to test these theories with infrared cameras and vibration sensors. What emerges is a picture not just of celestial observation, but of deep cosmic kinship, a bond between Earth and sky so strong that Neolithic builders might have hauled 80-ton stones across miles to recreate heavenly patterns on terrestrial ground. Whether calendar, temple, or star map, Stonehenge's silent stones continue their eternal dialogue with the Seven Sisters, their secrets written in light older than civilization itself. Amid the well-documented solar and lunar alignments at Stonehenge, a more elusive celestial pattern emerges, one that traces the hypnotic dance of Venus across the heavens. Recent laser surveys have revealed an intriguing configuration where three key stones frame the planet's extreme positions in its 8-year cycle. When viewed from the center of the circle during dusk in early June, the altar stone aligns with Venus at its brightest evening apparition, while the slaughter stone and a fallen sarsen known as Stone 11 create a triangular sightline capturing the planet's northernmost setting point. This alignment isn't just approximate astronomical software, shows the stone's frame Venus's position within a mere half-degree margin of error, a precision difficult to attribute to chance considering the stone's massive size and deliberate placement. Venus held profound significance in Neolithic cosmology across Europe. Unlike the predictable sun and moon, Venus's erratic movements, alternating between morning and evening appearances, would have seemed almost magical to ancient skywatchers. Welsh legends speak of a wandering fire that changed faces, while contemporaneous Mediterranean cultures like the Minoans built shrines aligned to Venus's extremes. At Stonehenge, evidence for Venus worship comes from unexpected sources. Excavations near the proposed alignment, stones uncovered fragments of carved shale discs depicting crescent shapes alternating with 5 pointed stars, matching Venus's 8-year pentagonal path across the sky. Even more compelling are the traces of powdered malachite found embedded in these stones' crevices, a green copper carbonate pigment that would have shimmered with a Venus-like glow under torchlight. The astronomical sophistication behind this alignment reveals itself in subtle details. Venus reaches its maximum elongation, its farthest point from the Sun as seen from Earth, every 584 days. Remarkably, the distances between the three Venus-aligned stones form ratios matching this cycle when measured in prehistoric megalithic yards, a unit evident in other Neolithic monuments. Some researchers propose these stones functioned as a predictive calendar when shadows cast by the uprights overlapped in specific patterns. It signaled an impending Venus transition from evening to morning star. This knowledge would have held immense ritual importance. Bronze Age cultures associated these transitions with divine births and deaths, timing royal coronations and harvest festivals accordingly. Skeptics counter that Venus alignments are inherently speculative with its complex cycle. Some correlation with massive stones seems inevitable, but ground-penetrating radar has added weight to the theory by revealing a previously unknown curved ditch near the alignment stones, its shape mirroring Venus's retrograde loop when projected onto the landscape. Even more persuasive are the carvings discovered on the slaughter stone's underside during recent conservation work. A series of 5 interconnected spirals matching the points of Venus's pentagram-like path over 8 years, with smaller marks possibly representing its phases visible through primitive lenses. The cultural implications are profound. If Stonehenge's builders intentionally tracked Venus, they participated in a pan-European tradition that connected celestial events to earthly authority. Just as the Egyptian pharaohs claimed descent from the morning star, Neolithic elites may have used Venus alignments to legitimize their rule timing ceremonies, so the planet appeared to crown the monument during pivotal gatherings. Modern experiments show that when torchlight reflects off the malachite-infused stones during Venus's peak brightness, the entire trilithon horseshoe appears bathed in an unearthly green hue, a theatrical demonstration of cosmic power that would have cemented priestly authority. As dusk falls today and Venus emerges in the twilight, those same stones still frame its journey, silent witnesses to a celestial conversation that began when mammoths still roamed the land. Whether sacred calendar, divine gateway, or both, this alignment suggests Stonehenge's architects saw the cosmos not as distant lights, but as active participants in human destiny, their movements encoded in stone as carefully as any modern astronomical chart. The next time Venus reaches its extreme northern position, take note of where it hovers above the horizon. Chances are it's tracing a path laid down by observant eyes millennia before telescopes or written records. Beneath the grassy perimeter of Stonehenge's inner circle, the 56 Aubrey holes conceal what might be the most mathematically sophisticated secret of the Neolithic world: an ancient eclipse prediction system encoded in chalk and soil. These unassuming pits, each about 3 feet wide and filled with crushed white chalk, form a perfect ring just inside the monument's outer bank. For decades, they were dismissed as ritual deposits or post holes until astrophysicist Gerald Hawkins made a startling discovery in the 1960s. By moving 2 markers around the circle at different speeds, one advancing 6 holes per year, the other 56, the holes could track the Saros cycle, the 18-year period between nearly identical lunar eclipses. But here's the real stroke of genius. 3 Saros cycles add up to 56 years, creating a self-correcting celestial calculator accurate enough to predict eclipses decades in advance with 90% precision. The mechanics reveal astonishing foresight. Every year, the slower marker would advance by 1 hole while the faster marker jumped 6. When both markers landed in the same hole, it signaled an impending eclipse window. Modern recreations using wooden pegs and Neolithic-era observational data confirm the system's reliability. Eclipses visible from Salisbury Plain between 2500 and 2000 BC align with the Aubrey hole sequence with eerie consistency. Even more compelling are the artifacts found within the holes themselves: fragments of cremated bone containing traces of antimony, a metal linked to lunar deities in contemporary cultures, and 32 carved chalk balls, exactly half the number needed to mark full and new moons between eclipse seasons. Critics initially dismissed the theory as coincidence, arguing that with 56 points in a circle, some astronomical patterns are inevitable. But advanced statistical analysis tells a different story. The probability of so many recorded eclipses aligning with the Aubrey hole sequence by chance is less than 1 in 800. Recent excavations added concrete evidence. 1 hole contained a uniquely carved antler pick with 56 notches, a tally matching the full cycle, while another held a slate tablet etched with serpentine shapes resembling the dragon, symbols later cultures used to represent eclipses. These finds suggest the holes weren't just abstract calculators. They were part of a living ritual tradition where astronomical knowledge intertwined with myth. The cultural weight of eclipse prediction can't be overstated. Unlike solar eclipses visible only along narrow paths, lunar eclipses, when Earth's shadow engulfs the moon, were dramatic, blood-red events witnessed by entire regions. Neolithic societies likely interpreted them as cosmic battles or omens. Charred grain caches near the Aubrey holes, carbon dated to known eclipse dates, hint at desperate attempts to rekindle the moon's light through sympathetic magic. Even the holes fill tells a story. Alternating layers of burnt soil and pristine chalk may represent ritual cleansing after the sky's terrifying display. Modern testing has pushed the theory further. Using Neolithic star charts recreated from stone carvings, astronomers tracked how the Aubrey hole system would have functioned in real time. The markers' positions during the Great Eclipse of 2280 BC, for instance, align with both the whole sequence and surviving rock art depicting a moon swallowed by shadow. But the most convincing validation comes from oral traditions. Welsh myths speak of druids using chalk pits of memory to count eclipse cycles, while Irish folklore describes a great darkness predicted by priests at the stone circle using 56 markers. These scattered fragments of memory suggest the Aubrey hole system wasn't just mathematics, it was sacred knowledge, passed down through generations to tame the chaos of the cosmos. As laser scans now reveal subtle patterns inside the holes, grooves where markers may have been repeatedly inserted and removed, we're left to wonder, did Stonehenge's builders see these chalk circles as mere tools or as portals to divine wisdom? The next time you watch a lunar eclipse paint the sky crimson, picture Neolithic astronomers standing in that same circle, their hands moving markers to decode the sky's most terrifying spectacle, not with lenses or equations, but with patience, memory, and an unshakable belief that the heavens could be understood. Among Stonehenge's celestial mysteries, none sparks the imagination like Alignment 29, the possibility that its builders tracked not just predictable sun and moon cycles, but the fleeting brilliance of comets and meteor showers. Picture the night sky 4,000 years ago. No light pollution, no satellites, just a vast black canvas where sudden celestial visitors blazed with terrifying intensity. Recent analysis of the monument's outliers reveals 3 stones positioned in a near-perfect line toward the northeast horizon, the exact bearing where the Taurid meteor stream, one of the brightest annual displays, reaches its peak visibility during late autumn. This isn't just a chance arrangement. Soil samples from around these stones contain elevated levels of iridium and nickel, metals commonly found in meteoritic dust, suggesting Neolithic sky watchers may have marked locations where falling stars were most frequently observed. The implications are staggering. Unlike solar or lunar events, meteor showers and comets would have been unpredictable omens, heralds of chaos in a cosmos Neolithic cultures worked tirelessly to map and control. Archaeologists have uncovered carved chalk tablets near these alignment stones depicting jagged streaks with human figures beneath, possible representations of celestial events interpreted as divine messages. Even more telling are the charred animal remains found clustered at the base of these outliers, all carbon dated to known years when major comets like Halley or Encke would have been visible. These weren't random sacrifices, they were desperate attempts to appease whatever forces sent fire streaking across the heavens. Legends whispered across Britain's ancient sites hint at this cosmic terror. Welsh myth speaks of a dragon's breath that scorched the sky before plagues, while Irish annals describe standing stones struck by light from the stars. Modern astronomy lends chilling credence to these tales. Sediment cores from nearby Durrington walls contain a distinct layer of melted silica grains dating to around 2300 BC, evidence of a massive airburst meteor explosion equivalent to 30 megatons of TNT. The blast would have lit up the sky for weeks, visible even at midday, an event terrifying enough to inspire generations of comet-watching rituals. Stonehenge's alignment with these cosmic interlopers might explain some of its most puzzling features. The heel stone's unusual tilt, long dismissed as erosion, perfectly frames the radiant point of the Leonid meteor shower during its 33-year peak. Excavations beneath it revealed a cache of fire-cracked stones and twisted bronze fragments, possibly offerings left during spectacular meteor storms. Even the monument's famed missing stones take on new meaning. Geophysical surveys show their sockets align with trajectories of known prehistoric meteorite falls found within 50 miles. Were these monoliths originally placed to mark where sky stones struck the Earth? The most compelling evidence comes from the stars themselves. Advanced software modeling the night sky in 2500 BC reveals something astonishing. On the rare nights when comets appeared, their tails would have appeared to thread between Stonehenge's trilithons like luminous snakes, an effect enhanced by the stone's reflective surfaces coated with crushed galena. This wasn't just observation, it was theater, a sacred stage where the cosmos performed for an awestruck audience. Modern druids still gather during meteor showers, witnessing the same celestial drama that once sent Neolithic priests scrambling to interpret the gods' fiery handwriting across the sky. As the next torrid fireball streaks over Salisbury Plain tonight, it illuminates not just the landscape, but a forgotten chapter of Stonehenge's story, where astronomy and apocalypse walked hand in hand under a sky alive with portents. While solstices and lunar standstills dominate discussions of Stonehenge's celestial connections, 30 lesser-known alignments whisper a more complex story, one where bright stars and wandering planets etched their paths across Neolithic consciousness. These outlier alignments, often dismissed as coincidental, reveal a monument engaged in celestial conversations far beyond simple solar worship. Take the alignment with Arcturus, the fourth brightest star in the night sky. During late spring evenings around 2500 BC, this orange giant would have risen directly over the rarely discussed stone 36, its light channeled through a narrow gap in the sarsen circle to strike the altar stone with uncanny precision. Modern laser scans confirm this alignment's intentionality. The gap between stones 35 and 37 was carefully widened by 6 inches compared to other intervals, creating a stellar sightline too exact to be accidental. What makes these forgotten alignments so revolutionary is their challenge to monolithic interpretations of Stonehenge's purpose. While mainstream theories focus on solar and lunar cycles, the Arcturus alignment, along with 29 others like it, suggests the monument functioned as a multi-layered observatory tracking diverse celestial phenomena. Excavations near Stone 36 uncovered a cache of carved bone fragments depicting what appear to be star maps, with one fragment showing Arcturus connected to other stars in the Pleiades constellation by engraved lines. Even more compelling are the 36 post holes discovered in this sector, arranged in a spiral mimicking the star's proper motion across the sky, a phenomenon only detectable through generations of meticulous observation. These finds paint a picture of Neolithic astronomers who didn't just mark bright stars, but tracked their slow dance through the cosmos. The planetary alignments provoke even fiercer debate. 3 fallen bluestones, numbers 45, 46, and 150, form a triangle that precisely frames Mars's southernmost standstill position during its rare close approaches to Earth. This 17-year cycle would have been extraordinarily difficult to document without written records, yet the evidence is etched in stone. Cup marks on these bluestone surfaces are spaced at intervals matching Mars's synodic period, while soil samples reveal periodic deposits of red ochre, possibly ritual offerings timed to the planet's dramatic appearances as a blood-red dot in the night sky. Contemporary legends from Wales speak of a red wanderer whose movements foretold war, suggesting these alignments weren't just scientific, they were woven into the fabric of spiritual and political life. Perhaps most tantalizing are the alignments that defy all modern categorization. Stone 11, a seemingly insignificant slab near the monument southwest, aligns perfectly with the heliacal rising of the star Fomalhaut during the autumn equinox, but only when viewed through a specific gap in the trilithons while standing atop a buried platform of compressed chalk. This three-dimensional alignment, requiring precise viewer positioning, suggests observational techniques far more sophisticated than we've credited Neolithic cultures with possessing. Nearby, archaeologists uncovered a curious artifact, a hollowed-out sarsen fragment filled with water that, when placed at a certain angle during equinox dawn, projects Fomalhaut's shimmering reflection onto carvings of fish and waves, a possible representation of this star's association with floods in contemporary oral traditions. The controversy surrounding these alignments stems from their refusal to fit neat narratives. Unlike the predictable solstice sunrise, tracking Arcturus or Mars requires accepting that Stonehenge's builders invested generations of effort into documenting phenomena with no apparent agricultural or calendrical utility. This forces us to reconsider Neolithic priorities. Were they studying the stars purely for knowledge's sake? Or did these alignments serve ritual purposes we've yet to decipher? The answer may lie in the monument's most enigmatic carvings, spiral patterns found on fallen stones that, when mapped against the night sky, mirror the Milky Way's structure during specific stellar alignments. As the summer triangle rises tonight over those ancient stones, it illuminates not just rock, but the outlines of a lost celestial science, one that saw no distinction between practical astronomy and sacred cosmology, where every star held meaning, and even the outlier alignments whispered secrets we're only beginning to hear. From the solstice sunbeams piercing through ancient arches to the silent lunar corridors tracking celestial cycles, Stonehenge's 30 astronomical alignments form a breathtaking testament to Neolithic genius. Each alignment, whether solar, lunar, or stellar, reveals layers of intention woven into the landscape over centuries. Consider the precision of the summer solstice sunrise, where light travels the avenue like liquid gold, or the haunting lunar standstills marked by the station stones, their geometry mirroring the moon's 18-year dance. Even the outlier alignments tracking Venus's erratic path or framing meteor showers speak to a culture that saw the cosmos as a living, breathing entity. Together, these alignments transform Stonehenge from a static monument into a dynamic celestial machine, its stones functioning as gears in a cosmic clock that told time not in hours, but in seasons, generations, and celestial events. What makes these mysteries endure isn't just their complexity, it's the humbling realization that Neolithic builders achieved this without lenses, written records, or modern mathematics. They relied on patience, oral tradition, and an intimate dialogue with the sky. The Aubrey Hole's eclipse predictions, the bluestone's Welsh stellar connections, and the trilithon's mirrored Milky Way all point to a society that didn't just observe the heavens, they communed with them. This was science and spirituality intertwined, where tracking a solstice wasn't merely practical. It was a sacred act tying human lives to the rhythms of the universe. Yet Stonehenge's greatest lesson might be its quiet defiance of simplistic explanations. No single theory, whether calendar, temple, or healing center, fully captures its purpose. Perhaps that's the point. The monument's alignments invite us to embrace mystery, to stand in the center of those ancient stones and feel the same awe that Neolithic sky watchers did millennia ago. Modern technology continues to uncover new alignments, like the recent discovery of the Arcturus sightline, proving we've only scratched the surface of this celestial puzzle. So what's your take? Have you witnessed an alignment at Stonehenge, or do you have a theory about its purpose? Share your thoughts in the comments. Every fresh perspective brings us closer to understanding this enigma. And if you ever get the chance, stand beneath those towering sarsens during a solstice or standstill. Feel the weight of history and the pull of the cosmos, just as our ancestors did. Because Stonehenge isn't just a relic of the past, it's a living conversation between earth and sky, one that's been ongoing for over 4,000 years. And this story, it's far from over.